Hello, this is Arnaud Cubo-Cristo. I am the founder of both Astrava Legacies and Astrava Church. And today we're going to draw parallels between Abraham and Astrava. And by Abraham, I'm talking about Abraham Hicks, Hicks. The reason why I'm going back to Abraham Hicks is because I think I first discovered Abraham in 2018 or thereabout. And I've been going back and forth to her teachings. And I find her to be really one of the best teachers out there on YouTube today, teaching about the laws of the universe, more specifically the law of attraction, how it operates. And so I would really urge anybody who wants to learn how the universe works and how the law of attraction works, to listen to Abraham. And today I'm going to draw a parallel or a comparison, or take a look at the Abraham teachings, compare them to the teachings that I give in Astrava, the Astrava movement. First thing to say about Abraham Hicks is that Abraham is not one person. That's why when you listen to the videos, it's Esther speaking, but Abraham is speaking through Esther. And so you cannot say she is saying, because I even find it difficult sometimes to know if I'm going to refer to Abraham as he or she or they or it. But the definition is that Abraham is a collective non-physical consciousness. So it's not like one person. The way I think about Abraham then is like a bunch of people who died a long time ago, and dying means they got out of the physical realm, and by getting out of the physical setting, they are no longer subject to the feelings such as fear and things like that, because we are afraid. For usually fear is based on what's going to happen to us in this physical life. And now because they are able to see things from a different angle, without fear, completely without fear, then they can see better than humans. And then they can tell you, if you did not have fear, this is what you would be doing, in depending on the context you find yourself in. So that's how I tend to think about Abraham, like a bunch of people who are dead, now giving us wisdom about life. The one thing though that I find about Abraham is that it's fantastic for people who are still in phase one. Now I'm going back to Astrava, the Astrava frame, or the model, which, as I said yesterday, is based off of Soren Kierkegaard's own model. Now, this is a philosopher, I believe, yeah, he's from somewhere in Europe, but it's not Germany. Austria, perhaps, or maybe Poland, I can't remember. But he's one of the philosophers, like what they call existential philosophy, which Friedrich Nietzsche was also part of, though they are now on the extreme opposites, in the sense that Kierkegaard is talking about Christianity or religion itself as a decision that you have to choose, as a purpose, as an ideal, as a North Star that you have to aim for, if you feel like your life is going to be meaningless and you're just living, your life has no meaning, to find meaning for your life. So that's what he recommends. And Nietzsche, who says that God is dead, Friedrich Nietzsche tells you that the way to live, still in that existentialist mindset, is to ignore everybody else and become a monster. So everybody, like, we are all going to live like animals in a jungle, and you are going to be the biggest animal. You're going to be the biggest, the greatest, the giant in the animal kingdom, and you are going to eat small dogs if you have to, but you're just going to be selfish to the maximum. And so two ways of thinking, but they are all existentialist philosophers. And existentialism really means that uh, uh, existence comes before essence, meaning that I decide what is true and what is not true. I decide what is good and what is not good. It's not like good is somewhere up there and everybody has to aim for that good, because now it's individualized. That's what existentialism really teaches you. In existentialism, you recognize yourself first before any ideals or any truths or any good or bad. You come first and foremost. And I was really captivated by that way of thinking because it's the same way I think. It's the same way I live my life. And existentialism is can be found in everything that I say and everything in how I live myself. Because my claim is always that the person comes first. You as a human being and that's why I also bring in the concept of divinity, because you are God and nobody should teach you what you do not connect with, what you cannot connect with. Okay, so now going back to Abraham versus Astrava. Abraham teaches that you were source energy, and at some point you decided to come into this human experience by taking on a human body. Now he calls it source energy, and she says, which you can call God if you want. Now you can understand this is somebody who knows that in some religions they use the concept of God, but other people use different concepts. So Abraham is trying to be as generic as possible because he's speaking to the whole world and saying whatever you want to call it, but you were something else. You were source energy before you took on the human body. And then you were born and you were a small child and you were very happy. You knew how to be happy when you were a child. But as you grew older, you forgot how to be happy. How did it happen? The first time it happened was when you were still a little kid and you're jumping up and down on the sofa and you're playing with your toys, bringing your box full of toys and throwing them all in the living room all over the place. And suddenly your mom came and said, you cannot be doing that. I just cleaned up everything. I just put everything in order. Now you're messing up the house again. I don't want you to do that. You can never do that again. And basically, the message is she's telling you, now I feel unhappy because of what you just did. Can you put your toys back in the box so that I can feel happy again? That's really the core message. And you did that. You did that. And by doing that, it made you feel good. Why? Because you made her happy. So you became, in her mind, you became the object or of her happiness, or something on which her happiness can depend upon. And her, by making you that, and you performing because you did exactly as she asked for her happiness, it made her happy, which put her back in tune with the source energy, which is her true identity. And when she went back into that connectivity, it also created a vibe that caused you to feel happy again, because the vibe in the entire room is now a positive vibe, and you are in tune with source energy and she is in tune with source energy. Now I'm just going to simplify. I'll just call it God, because source energy, I think God is simpler. So you are in touch with God and she is in touch with God, and everybody is now happy. But then the more you grew up, and that's because that was really the beginning of the social setting, the social setup. You interact with other people, it's not just you. And because you are interacting with other people, they want you to do something that makes them happy. Their happiness depends on you. And you are performing what you feel they want so that to make them happy. And as you do that, it gives you some level of joy, because then you do not get to think about yourself too much. But But eventually, the time came when it became too much because you satisfied them more and more, and you find that you are actually ignoring yourself or forgetting yourself. Um, and that's then when the problems began, which caused you to um, seek how to actually be happy, uh, to to be happy with yourself. And Abraham teaches that selfishness is not a bad thing because it's been made bad by religion and other teachings in the human configuration, in the human social setting. And what she teaches you is that really by being selfish, you can you can save the world, because when you become selfish, you are going to connect directly with source energy, and when you're connected with source energy, only the best can come out of you. Now, I'm not going to go further into, or maybe I'll do both and do back and forth. Um, but the concept of selfishness itself, which I also agree with, is Abraham talks about it. But the issue with that is it oftentimes is going to be understood as what Friedrich Nietzsche is really prescribing, which is you do not have to worry about other people. You have to just pursue your own desires. That's number one. And number two, there is also the issue of it being more hedonistic than anything else. Hedonistic in what sense? In that humans have a tendency to go after what makes them, not really what makes them happy, but what is pleasurable, to pursue pleasure rather than happiness, because those two things are not really the same thing. And the confusion has always been, maybe if I go after pleasure, I will be happy. But that's not really the case, which then brings me back to the Astrava framework or the Astrava model. And the beginning of that model is somebody who is in the aesthetic mode, in the aesthetic phase. And this is a person who's non-committal. They don't want to commit to anything. They do not want to commit to morality, neither morality nor ethics nor religion or anything. They just want to keep all their options open and live their life and find pleasure and maximize pleasure wherever they can find it. So there is a little bit of, or maybe a high degree of hedonism involved in phase one. And in Christianity, we call them sinners, or Christianity calls them sinners, because I'm not really, now it's really difficult to explain this, but I come from a religious background that is Christianity. And today, I still speak in terms of Christianity because those are the principles that I believe help people, help the human race understand things. But there is a big problem than institutional Christianity. The institutions, like the religious, the Catholic Church, and then the Protestant churches, which are many, have become a problem, a big problem. And so sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes it's difficult for me to associate with the institutions that Christianity has become. But I still know, I still acknowledge, and I still preach and teach that I am a Christian. And so, as a Christian, back to this model, the people who are in the aesthetic phase, we call them sinners. They call them sinners, though, because I don't call anybody sinners. What I say is that sinners and saints, they're all children of God, created in His image, and for one purpose, which is to experience and create and protect and foster and preserve heaven right here on earth. So phase two then is the religious man. I call him the religious man, but Kierkegaard called the religious man phase three, But for me, phase two is the religious man. Kierkegaard called him the ethical man, which is, but for me, ethics is just one component of religion, because religion is more than that. But it's still institutionalized religion. So the principles of the teachings of Abraham are really aimed for, as I understand them, they are more aimed for the people who are in phase one. And so if you are out there and you don't feel like you don't want to take over the world, you have no desire to be a big person, you just want to be a small person, you don't want to commit to anything, you just want to be able to live your life and have a happy life and enjoy any pleasures that you can access, then Abraham Hicks is for you. Abraham Hicks is for you. She is going to teach you the laws of attraction, and she's going to teach you how to attract money if money is what you wish for, how to attract a lover if lovers are what you're looking for, and how to attract health if good health is what anything you're looking for. So she's going to teach you the laws of attraction. But as you listen to Abraham Hicks, the more you listen to her, it's going to be clear to you that it's not actually that simple. It is going to be clear to you that it's not that simple. One other person came to Abraham and asked the question. Now, her need was a lover. She was looking for a man in her life. And she went to Abraham and said, Abraham, now I think you are really, really a bad person, or you are a bad friend. And Abraham said, okay, how? She said, I think your plan is to make me get into this visualization of me having this lover in my life, and then getting into it so much that the virtual reality becomes my true reality. So I am satisfied even without ever having this man in my bed. And so I think that's what you're trying to do to me, so that I get to that level where it doesn't matter if the person is next to me or if they're not, because virtually speaking, in my virtual world, my visualization world, it's already happened. And Abraham laughed and said, yeah, yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. That is exactly what we are doing. Because what we are teaching you to get back into alignment with who you were before you became a human being. You were absolutely satisfied, source energy, complete with yourself, within yourself, and you did not depend on anything outside of you to be happy. And so when we say you must live as if it's already happened, what we are teaching you is that you have to get to that exact level, because what's going to happen then is that your lover will have no choice. He will just have to materialize. But that happens when you are in that vibration of power and completeness and wholeness. That's the only time when all your desires, because everything you ever desired in your life is stored up in your vortex. And it's not just the lover. There are plenty of things beyond the lover, beyond the men that you need. Many other things too. But all those things are waiting for you to align with them, and you align with them by rising to this level where you can be complete, to this wholeness, to this dimension of wholenessness. And that's the only time when the man you're looking for, the ideal man, the perfect man, will show up in your life. Not just him, along with accompanied by everything else that's stored for you in the vortex. And so now you can see that it's not that easy. It's not just that she's going to teach you how to attract money to yourself, but her teachings are a little bit like, it's like a trap, because she tells you, yeah, I can show you how to attract money, but really she's pulling you towards what we call in Astrava, she's calling you towards the promised land. But to get to that promised land, you have to walk through the desert, and that's the difficult part. Difficult part, yes, in Astrava, but almost impossible in the Abraham framework. Why? Because she doesn't even give you a specific ideal or a specific purpose. Because Abraham tells you that you came on planet Earth for this reason. And that reason is to transcend and transcend and transcend. And the way you transcend is through friction. And so something happens, for example, you get sick, and then in your mind, you're like, I wish I were healthy. And that desire of health, good health, immediately is sent into your vortex. And then you get into that mindset because that's what she's teaching you. She's telling you that you have to enter that vibration or use your vibrational currency or your emotional currency to live as if, or to think, to feel how the way you would feel if your desire were fulfilled. And so she tells you to get into that mindset until the desire manifests, but it does not have to manifest in the physical world, because ultimately, like again, like I just said, the idea is for you to get to that wholenessness. But I personally find it impossible, because the difficulties that people face in this life, the difficulties that humans face in this world, in this human experience, cannot be satisfied by understanding that you are here to simply rise virtually, virtually, and virtually, and virtually. I did it twice on two levels. The first level was in 2017, and it was happening virtually, 100% virtually. Because 9 years before 2017, God had made me a promise, and that was back in 2008. The problem of money was the highest problem in my life. And so, what God told me, call it source energy, if you will, is that money was in my vortex. Like a big check, $1 billion were being saved for me in my vortex. And so, because I believe in the Bible, and I read Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1, where it says that that faith is to have the confidence, to stand in the confidence of the things that you hope for. I went straight into the faith mode. I decided that from now on, I'm going to live as if everything is complete, is perfect for me. Now, there were some backs and forths during between that period, but then everything became yes. 2017 comes around, and I'm having this difficult time, um, asking myself, was it really the voice of God that I heard, or was it just me and my wishful thinking? And then someone asks me a question. At that time, I was in Shanghai or in China, and a friend asked me a question: what would you do if money was not a problem? What would you do if money was not a problem? I didn't answer his question. I said, tell me first, what would you do if money was not a problem? He told me that he was interested in working in intelligence, CC, CIA, or whatever it is. So I found it funny, and we joked about it. But that evening, as I went to bed, the question was like, it still lingered in my mind. What would you do if money was not a problem? And that's the question that changed my life for the first time, because it really, really nailed me. It hit me, but then hit me. It's like you have a hammer in your hand and you have a nail, and you're trying to get this nail into wood. So you're nailing that hammer you're nailing, you're hitting the nail. And yes, now me as a spiritual person had been being hit by a nail to get into this prosperity mode. But then back and forth, because between 28 and 2017, the circumstances still had some power on me. But then in 2017, that's when like the nail was really hit straight into within in the wood to never be shaken again. And that's when I made my own decision. And the decision was I decide today to believe that it was God who spoke to me. That's number one. And number two, money is not a problem. Never, ever going to be a problem for me. And so it's like that question then teleported me from level one of Maslow's pyramid of needs, the bottom of the pyramid, which is really where you're struggling with basic needs. And it was like a helicopter just grabbed me from that bottom all the way to the top. But then I get to the top, and now this is all happening virtually. I see myself rising in a helicopter from the bottom of the pyramid of needs, Abraham Maslow's pyramid of needs. This helicopter takes me all the way to the top of the pyramid, which is self-actualization. And self-actualization means now you're living for the reason why you were created. You're pursuing the purpose of your life, the purpose of your life here on planet Earth. And so I get to that level, and I'm still in visualization mode. A second helicopter takes me from there. And when did that happen? It happened in 2016. 2026. So nine years before 2017, I was living. 9 years before 2017, I get a promise, and the promise becomes real to me in 2017. And then 9 years after 2017, I get my second helicopter, because the first helicopter took me 9 years before 2017, from the bottom of the pyramid, Maslow's pyramid of needs, to the top of it. But then from there, a second helicopter takes me. And what's that helicopter? I get to the top of the pyramid and I see other people who are there, people who are not worried about money. Plenty of people to whom money is not an issue. Rich, really, really rich people, wealthy, prosperous, abundant people. And some of them, yes, are still looking down. They're looking down on those behind them, those who are struggling, trying to climb the ladder, and laughing, oh, that one is never going to make it, that one is probably going to make it, and maybe spitting on some, you will never make it. And so some are looking down, but there is a small group of people who are still looking up. And these are looking up where? Because I didn't know when you get to the peak of the pyramid that there is another pyramid that you have to climb. And that's when I discovered that the second pyramid, is actually taking this, which just happened to you as an individual, as a microorganism, to the universal, to the macro level. And so what if then I could picture the entire human race standing on top of the pyramid, everybody living in self-actualization mode? In other words, what if then I could picture the entire human race? If I could picture the entire human race living in pursuit of paradise on earth, because that's the purpose of life. That is the purpose of life. That is the reason. That is the only reason why man was created. And now I'm going in the Genesis framework. Genesis, which is one of the books in the Bible, the first book of the Bible. And that then explains everything. It's going to be clear. Because if Abraham tells you, then you can get anything you want, and then it becomes like a maze. Then you enter this room, and then you enter that room, and then you But then the idea with the intended goal, being to pull you all the way to this place where you do not depend on circumstances, where you do not depend on anybody outside of you. um, uh, I believe that then it becomes clear to me that that journey is going to be easier if you knew what the North Star is from the beginning. North Star meaning the destination or the pinnacle of this journey, the end of the road, knowing exactly where you're going. And because if you can have that in your mind, then it's going to be easier for you to align with it, regardless of what's happening in your physical world. And so now do this with me, if you will. Imagine yourself living a life where money is no longer a problem. What do you see yourself doing? What if money was not a problem anymore? Now I'm taking the example of money because lots of people have money issues today. And ask yourself this question then: what would you do if money was not a problem anymore? The answer that I came up with is that if everybody wakes up in the morning asking the same question, I will also ask the same question as everybody else. Because we are all satisfied and none of us is still struggling with money issues. And so all everybody is asking every day is, now I understand. Now we understand that the purpose of life is to create and promote and protect the Garden of Eden, paradise on earth, heaven on earth. Everybody understands that. That's the purpose of life. And so every day we wake up in the morning saying, please, God, can you tell me what I can do today to contribute to this project, to the project of heaven on earth? What can I contribute today? What can my contribution be today? Because I don't want to be lazy. I want to be doing something because everybody else is doing their part. I want to do my part too. So can you please tell me what my assignment is? So that was the second helicopter for me, which is, imagine everybody is asking the same thing every day, asking to God or source energy, if that's what you want to call it, but asking source energy, please tell me what I must do today to contribute to paradise on earth. Now, this brings me back to the story. Abraham tells you that you were source energy and then you became a child, and the child started getting into this relationship with his mom, where mommy says something and then the child has to accommodate mommy's needs. But then, he then is doing what his mom is asking, which then makes him the object of his mom's satisfaction. And his mom is then always externalizing her desires, which kind of messes the kid up because the kid now thinks that his own satisfaction must come from outside of himself. But now, this is all given a the person who's listening to this may think that was a bad thing, but what I'm saying now is that even if we were to use that model, the idea of the child accommodating his mother's needs, or a person living altruistically, which is the opposite of selfishness, somebody who desires to satisfy other people, to help other people, to give a hand, I am actually going to argue that that's the very purpose of life itself. Because you crystallized, you create heaven on earth, you manifest paradise on earth for all by serving other people. Because Jesus said, he who wants to be great must be a servant, must serve everybody else. you must serve. The child knows that he or she must serve the needs of his mom, the needs of his parents, and that's obedience. The child has to obey his parents. And that's the way it has to be, because this child from a young age must learn that we do not come in this world to be like a black hole which is going to absorb and absorb and absorb. That's not the purpose of life. We come into this world to be givers of joy and life and satisfaction, to be givers of life. We become in this world to be givers of life. Can that be difficult? It's guaranteed to be difficult. And that's why life experience is the most fascinating experience, the most beautiful thing. Because then you get into that challenge. When you know, I live to give life, when you know that, and in that mindset, difficulties are going to emerge, but then solutions are also going to emerge, because you know it's not about you. It's about source energy, which is within you. And now, when you surrender everything to source energy will tell you exactly how to get, what to do to get out whatever problem you face, whatever problem you find yourself in. He is going to tell you always, always. If you just make it about him, you give him the control, and of course the credit also goes to him, because I always say that all the glory belongs to God, and that's where it has to always to go back. Because when the glory goes to the human, then we get into ego situations, and that's not good. But yes, there's going to be problems, but all those problems are really not going to be problems anymore. All the problems disappear the moment you connect once again with source energy, the moment you identify with God, and everything become clear. Everything become clear again, and because it's not really you. You are just the instrument. Your body is just the vessel, but God is working through you. And now this brings me to another teacher, Jim Rohn, Rohn. And Jim Rohn is somebody who says that in the marketplace, people are going to pay you money for two things. Two things, only two things. One is either because you are making them money, and two is because you're making their life easier. It's the only two reasons why people are going to pay you in the marketplace. And so if you have a job and you are waking up every day, going to work and doing your job, fulfilling your job obligations as they are described in your contract, fulfilling every point in your job description, then what's happening is that you are earning your salary. They're paying you a certain amount of money every month, or every 2 weeks, or every week, whatever it happens to be. They're paying you a certain amount of money, and by performing, by doing what you're doing, you are earning your salary. But doing what's written in your contract does not earn you a promotion or a pay raise or anything like that. That only happens when you do beyond what's in your job description. And now we're talking about going far and beyond what's required. And so if you work hard at your job, and that's a second saying. So the first saying is two reasons why people pay you money in the marketplace. Either you're making them money or you are making their life easier. And so look at your job description and then and decide, what am I going to do? Am I going to maybe find ways to increase my company's profits and my company's sales and revenues, which is the same thing? Or am I going to make my boss's life easier by taking on more of the workloads that he's been doing, and saying, can I take this off of your plate so that you can focus on something else? So but that's how you get a pay raise, and that's how you. And why am I talking about this? I'm saying this because we are now in this mindset of service. We are here in the world to serve. And so if Abraham teaches you, then you can have money, and I am going to teach you how the law of attraction works, your mind is still going to tell you, and this is true, then you have to earn that money somehow, because money is not just going to fall into your lap. You have to do something to earn the money. Now, Abraham is going to say, don't focus on I have to, because the I have to is probably going to create some friction inside of you, meaning that you are not vibrating the positive energy that you need to send into the universe so that the universe can respond to that. Um, and then she goes on because she rambles a lot. When you listen to Abraham Hicks, there is a lot of rambling, which is good, because really it's like listening to music. You're not even listening to the words anymore, but just the vibrations that's coming out of that. And the vibration is telling you you are doing something wrong. You should be doing something else, not what you're doing. And so back to this principle then, Jim Rohn tells you this is what happens. If you want to make money in the world, you have to go in the marketplace and either make people money or make their life easier. But he also says something else. You can make a living by working hard on your job, but you could potentially make a fortune by working hard on yourself, by transforming yourself. Now that's it's an interesting concept. It says you can make a living by earning a salary, and so you're doing your job and earning a salary. But if you work on yourself, if you can transform yourself, if you can met- metamorphosis, so metamorphose yourself into a new being, a better being, an elevated being, if you can transform yourself into a divine being, if you can tune into the frequency of source energy, if you can become God, if you can become Christ, Jesus the Messiah, you could make a fortune. You can, he didn't say if you can, I'm saying that. If you can become Jesus, becoming God or deification, that's me, Astrava teaching that. All Jim Rohn said, if you work hard on your job, you could make a living. And if you work hard on yourself, you could make a fortune. And I'm borrowing that to explain to you what, and the reason why I'm borrowing his statement or his quote, which is that it is possible for you to make a fortune, not just a living, because yes, you're working a job, so they're paying you a salary, and you're able to supply your basic needs. You're able to feed your children and pay rent, or maybe pay your mortgage, or whatever it is. You can make a living by working your job, but you cannot make a fortune on a job. You will not make a fortune on a job. And when I'm talking about a fortune, I'm talking about a prosperous life, to become prosperous, to become really, 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 really rich. You cannot be really rich if you're just focusing on a job. And that's why I'm talking about now how to make a fortune, which is to work on yourself. But when you work on yourself, then you are going to make people's life, like the human experience, you are going to find ways to make it easier for everybody else. Because if you can work on yourself, say, I know there is a phase that's called the baptism of fire. There is a phase of sufferings, but I'm ready to drink from this cup, because I know beyond this cup, I'm going to be a changed person, and I'll be so changed, so transformed, that I will be able to make other people's lives easier. And by making their lives easier, I am going to make a fortune. Now, this is all going back to the phrase or the sentence or the statement, a quote from the Bible: seek first the kingdom of heaven, and all else will be added unto you. You must seek first the kingdom of God, and everything else will be given unto you. Everything else will come as a bonus. So what does that mean? I seek the kingdom of heaven by kingdom of heaven meaning heaven on earth. Heaven on earth meaning paradise on earth. Paradise on earth meaning what? Meaning me doing my own assignment, daily assignment, living in daily obedience to the Holy Spirit, such that we can keep on building paradise right here on earth. So seek first the kingdom of heaven then. Get obsessed with that idea. Become obsessed with that idea and leave the rest to the Holy Spirit. Become obsessed with that idea, the idea of heaven on earth. Let it absorb you. Let it consume you. Let it burn inside of you. Let it become a furnace, but also let it become some type of energy that's going to propel you forward. Because then you're going to take actions that you didn't really think through, because now it's not your mind or your brain working. Now it's spirit doing the work. And all you had to do was use your freedom of choice and to choose to give voice, to give power, to give control, to give the will, to hand over control of your life to the Spirit of God that lives inside of you. And so if you can do that, let it consume you, that will, you will find yourself doing things that you never, never, ever imagined you could do. You will see yourself assuming positions that you never thought in your life you could dare assuming. Seek first the kingdom of heaven, and everything else will be added unto you. Transform yourself, and you will make a fortune. Transform yourself. Work on yourself to become who you were destined to be, to become who you were from the very beginning. Because human experience is just that. Now, this is me, I'm concluding. I was making a parallel, I was making a comparison between Abraham and Astrava. Um, and my conclusion in that comparison is that Abraham is trying to teach something important, but it becomes really useless because the applicability of it is almost impossible. It becomes somewhat impractical because she's trying to accommodate everybody at the same time. And in doing so, throwing away the what I believe to be the core of this entire message, of this entire project. And so my belief is that Abraham speaks through Esther Hicks, and Esther, I think she's one of the baby boomers. I think she was born in the baby boomers. She's of that generation. And what I know is that baby boomers were the first to, one of the or maybe the first generation to be born and be raised and become rebellious, to rebel against all things, including religion itself. And so there was that sense of rejecting Christianity, especially because Esther, she's American. So it's Christianity that we're talking about. And so you reject Christianity and you decide, I'm going to be a spiritual being. And so I'm going to embrace all religions of the world, Buddhism, Hindu, and Islam, and everything, because now I'm taking it all together, and no religion is superior to the other, and that's good. That's good and beautiful. But something happens because we end up throwing the baby out with the baby water. I think that's a saying. It's like you throwing the baby with the baby water is I'm rejecting religion with all the religious people and all their teachings. But the problem with that is I'm also losing the framework that explains all of these things, all these things that we are talking about. And that's the Genesis framework. If you take all these teachings and put them in the Genesis 1:26, Genesis 1:27, Genesis 1:28, then it becomes much cleaner, much clearer, and very much executable, very much practical. It becomes easy to understand and to put in practice, because then we know the north star, the purpose of life itself, is heaven on earth. We understand that because that's what Genesis 1:27, Genesis 1:28, 26, 27, 28, like the book of Genesis, chapter 1, it's basically telling you that the purpose of life, the reason why God creates man in his own image, is so that men can go and take care of the Garden of Eden, so that men can go forth and preserve paradise on earth. And when you get that in your mind, then you know exactly what you have to do. You have to fill the void, any voids that you see. You're not going to be shy. You cannot be shy anymore. You have to stand up and claim your divinity. Yes, Jesus did it and he got him in trouble, but you're not afraid, because it's not fear that's driving you now. You're being driven by the highest ideal possible to human being, and you're doing it not selfishly, but altruistically. You're doing it because you know now is the time for you to take charge and to assume your dominion over the entire universe in service for others. You're doing it because you know that's your purpose on planet Earth, to dominate, to have dominion over all creation, the entire universe, for the sake of others, for the sake of other human beings, in service to other human beings. And so, in other words, you exist to make life easier for other people, to make life easier for them. How do you make life easier? The Holy Spirit is going to tell you. But just keep that in mind. Keep in mind that this is the North Star, and it's found in Genesis. And so everything you hear Abraham teaching, find a way to connect that back to the Bible. Find a way to connect all those teachings back to where they belong, which is Genesis, the book of Genesis in the Bible. Now, it's not just Genesis, because I just talked about the sayings of Jesus which are not in Genesis, but everything really ties back into Genesis. And everything is pointing, it's like little uh, uh, um what do you call that, hints, small hints. If you know the story of two children who went in the forest, and one went eating his bread, and the other one went not eating his bread, but actually taking tiny little pieces of bread and dropping them to the ground. And then when they got lost inside the forest, couldn't find their way back home, they knew exactly how to go back home, because there were those bread pieces all over the path. So that's how they were able to go back home. The Bible, the entire book of Bible, is really telling us how we get to recover the lost paradise, and what we do with it when we find it again, how we get to protect it and preserve it and make sure we never lose it again. And that's what Astrava is all about. That's what I'm teaching. And so please, once again, I urge you to listen to the teachings of Abraham Hicks, and let us discuss, because I have this feeling that we will be doing these comparisons very often. So yeah, I have that feeling that this is probably not the first, or not the last. It is the first, but probably not the last comparative video that I'm doing between Abraham and Astrava. And so I welcome any question that you might have. But again, I'll go back to the principle, which is that we are here not as humans, but as gods going through a human experience. That's number one. And number two, the reason why we are here is so that these experiences, these human experiences, can reveal our divinity to others. And why is that important? It's because there are others who are so asleep, so fast asleep, that no teaching can awaken them, only actions can awaken them. No intellectual stimulation can actually work for these people. They have to see before they can believe. They have to see a God before they can believe in divinity or in deification or in theosis. And so we are here for them because nobody is doomed for hell. Everybody's destined for paradise, and that paradise is not an afterlife promise. It's a promise that we must experience right here on planet Earth. We are here for heaven on earth, and that's the only purpose there is. Everything else is different assignments, and different people will get different assignments, and even those who have assignments will get different assignments depending on the season that they're going through. So different assignments according to the season, but what's going to be permanent is that the purpose will stay the same, and we will continue to obey the same spirit, because there are no many spirits, there is only one God. You are not human, you are source energy going through human experience, and the purpose of that is so that you can be the light of the world, and in being the light of the world, reveal to the world what divinity looks like, so that they too can know that they can do it. If you can do it, so can they. If I can do it, so can you. Thank you. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And on this day, the 17th day, the 19th day of July 2026, I once again bow on my knee as a soldier bowing before his master. I pledge allegiance to the Majesty, King of the universe. I pledge my loyalty to Jesus Christ, Lord of Lords, and I pledge my obedience to the Holy Spirit, now and forever. Amen. Thank you. God bless. And feel free to ask any question. You can drop it in the comments, and I will address it, and we'll keep going. Thank you so much. Goodbye.